about to begin, so I just want to welcome you all. My name is Felicia Wheeler. I was gonna get on the mic, but I think that I can project loud enough. Hey, welcome. All right, so I'm gonna do the welcome, and I'm going to introduce our griot for this evening, and she will tell us about her story, origin story, and how things led up to her becoming director of Slave Haven, or also known as Burkle Estate. And then once she finishes speaking, I'll open for a couple of questions to kind of jog the conversation a little bit more, and then I'll do the closing. So my name is Felicia Wheeler. Thank you all so much for coming this evening and braving the rain with us. It's truly an honor to welcome you to this conversation centered on one of our city's, in my humble opinion, most powerful and important historical sites, Slave Haven Underground Railroad Museum, and the director that is continuing to do the work in preserving and protecting our history, tonight's griot, Miss Elaine Turner. Tonight we'll hear from her about her life journey and what ultimately led her to becoming the director of Slave Haven. So I'm going to read her bio really quickly and introduce her. We got a couple more people coming in, so that's exciting. Elaine Lee Turner has served the Memphis community in various capacities as an educator, a civil rights activist, an entrepreneur, and a historian. Having spent 15 years in the teaching profession, she decided to pursue other endeavors. Her interest in history inspired her to launch her own business. Realizing that many of our youth do not know their rich history and lack motivation and pride in their own heritage, she conceived the idea of developing tours that would share this history with them, simply touring their own city and learning about their past. In 1983, she, along with her sister Joan, opened Heritage Tours, the first African-American oriented tour company in the state of Tennessee, with some authorities in the tourism industry crediting Heritage Tours as being the first of its kind in the United States. In developing the tour company, she truly believed that the story of African Americans was a story that needed to be told, especially to our youth, and that the vision for incorporating this history into a business was indeed divinely inspired. Over the past 37 years, the interest in African American heritage has grown tremendously, and the tours have attracted visitors from all over the world. Elaine Turner serves as director of Slave Haven Underground Railroad Museum and the director of the W.C. Handy Memphis Pullman Museum on Beale Street. In 1997, Heritage Tours established the W.C. Handy Heritage Awards, which pays tribute to the many outstanding Memphis musicians who have contributed to our musical heritage and to keep the legacy of W.C. Handy alive. As an activist, Elaine Turner's involvement in the civil rights movement began as a high school and college student. She participated in numerous protest demonstrations, including sit-ins, marches, pickets, boycotts, and pray-ins, which challenged the segregation laws in Memphis. Her involvement in the various sit-ins resulted in her being arrested 3 times throughout the 1960s, along with her 6 sisters. She participated in the Selma March in 1965, and also the Meredith March Against Fear in 1966, where she met Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and other civil rights leaders. Recently, the General Assembly of the Tennessee State Legislature presented a resolution to the Lee sisters to acknowledge their civil rights participation. Also, the Shelby County Historical Commission erected an historical marker in recognition of the Lee sisters on Main Street because of the pivotal role they played in helping to make Memphis a better place. Elaine Turner is also active throughout the community in a wide range of community and professional organizations, including a charter member of the Coalition of 100 Black Women, board of directors of the African American Museum of Memphis, former board member of the Mid-South Peace and Justice Center, the Center for Southern Folklore, Shelby County Historical Commission, and the Black Business Association. She currently serves on the board of directors of Zion Community Project and is a member of Memphis Tourism and Delta Sigma Theta Sorority. She also served on the advisory committee which planned the expansion of the National Civil Rights Museum. Elaine Lee Turner was married to the late attorney Melvin G. Turner for 45 years and is the mother of 4 children, Melvin Turner II, Alana Turner, attorney, Camila Turner, and Kevin Turner. Without further ado, please give a warm welcome to Miss Elaine Turner. Look at it. Let's. Once you sit out, set. There we go. Okay. Is that good?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, is that good? Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. All right, good evening, everyone. All right, and thank you for coming out on this rainy evening. I hope that we can have a nice conversation about some Memphis history. And thank you, Felicia, for inviting me, to Hattie Lou for your Griot voices. I'm glad to be a voice called Griot. All right. All right, so I suppose I'll just kind of let Felicia tell me how she wants me to begin, and we can proceed.
So I think what we can do, we can kind of sort of backtrack some on some of the relevance of the Civil Rights Museum, or Civil Rights period, not the museum, but how you got your start and involvement and how that kind of meandered to become the director of slave keeping.
Well, the whole, I guess, the background of my involvement in history really starts with Heritage Tours, and which my sister Joan and I started 42 years ago now. And we started this tour company, as is stated in the bio, because we thought it was necessary for young people to know their history. And that history was not being taught in the schools. It was not something that you can readily go to the library and find material to learn about history. You would just have to seek it out. So it would really go unnoticed if someone didn't point it out. And I thought tourism would be an ideal avenue to spread information, positive information about African American history right here in Memphis. To my knowledge, there was no one else focusing on this history. And I knew that Memphis had a wealth of wonderful history that should be shared. And I had taught school for a few years, and I decided to resign from teaching initially because my family had grown and had 4 children at home. And so I stayed at home for a few years after I resigned from teaching, but I was ready to go back out into the workforce to do something that I thought would be stimulating for myself, and it would be something that would be positive for the community. And I didn't know exactly what that was going to be. But I just searched around for a few years looking for something that I thought that I could get engaged in and that I could share whatever knowledge I had, so that it would be something that would be enriching for anyone who was seeking to know something about history. And so I came up with the idea of doing just that, of developing a tour that would take people around the city, especially young people. So this tour company, Heritage Tours, was actually started for the youth because they were the ones that we felt were lacking the motivation and inspiration that we as young people had when we were growing up. We wanted to get an education. You know, in my family, we were first generation college graduates. So we wanted other young people to have that same desire to want um, to do something that'll make a difference, to do something positive. And so that's how we came up with the idea of Heritage Tours. But after we started the tour company, and we did start taking hundreds of school children in Memphis on the tours, they were really excited about learning. And they were just fascinated to know that Black people did all these wonderful things in the past, and nobody had ever told them about it. So that was so encouraging. And then, of course, as the teachers went on the tour and the parents, then we saw that they too did not know that history. And so it was not then just for students, it was for everybody. And so that's how we got started with Heritage Tours. And then after a few years, there were other types of history that really came, I guess, to our doorstep. We were asked to manage the W.C. Handy Museum on Beale Street. And everybody knows that W.C. Handy was known as the father of the blues. His home was on Beale Street, and they needed someone to manage that museum. After the Blues Foundation moved out and had a greater, larger place for their facilities, and since Heritage Tours was the only one that was taking tourists to that museum anyway, they thought we would be the ideal ones to take over the W.C. Handy Museum, and that has really, really been an interesting part of Memphis history, because Memphis is the home of the blues, and there's the music and all of that, and so we were able to just connect with so many Memphis musicians over the years, and we started the W.C. Handy Heritage Awards, as was mentioned earlier, and have honored over 200 musicians throughout the city of Memphis. So one thing has just led to another, in other words. And then just one day, we got a call from a lady who says that, I just found out that my house was a part of the Underground Railroad. Would you be interested in bringing your tour groups here? And of course, you know, I could have fallen out of my chair. We knew on so many places. We had over 30 or 40 historical locations in the city where we were taking people to. Never heard of the Underground Railroad site being in Memphis, but it was right here. So that's how we got started with Slave Haven Underground Railroad Museum. We rushed down to the house, and Mrs. Phillips showed us the house and the cellar and the unique features of the house where the enslaved Africans hid. And it was just, has been the most intriguing research by being the director of Slave Haven Underground Railroad Museum, and to see the faces of people who come and learn and just really get to touch history, and to be in the space where enslaved Africans were able to hide and seek freedom. And so it has just been so inspiring for me to just be in that space and to see how people react when they really learn something that they never knew before. And it is such an experience for them that they never forget. I see former students that have grandchildren now, I think, and in the grocery store, and they tell me that they remember the tour, and it was something that made an impact on their lives. So that's how we got started with Slave Haven.
Very nice. Okay, I was curious. I didn't know But I do have a question for everybody in the audience. How many of you all have visited or are familiar with slave haven? I'm assuming you have. Okay, well, great, beautiful. Okay, I'm very glad about that. My visit, my first initial visit, because I've not been just the one, but it was just so, I left feeling so galvanized and encouraged. And I always, when I think about the museum, I always make a note of it is just the actualization. I mean, the history, just full stop. The actualization of perseverance is what I think of every time. Experiencing going down in the cellar for those that have experienced that, it's just such a sobering, it demands that you kind of sit and do some introspection on the severity of what happened. This, no, and that's the power of that. Okay.
Maybe it's coming back on.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the backup generator.
Let's see on that other.
All right.
But it's like eating.
Well, right here in the dark. But one of the questions that I had, I use my flashlight. One of the questions that I have, especially as we have some that, some children here in the audience that may be too young currently, to kind of visit them. Hey, welcome. We're not intentionally sitting in the dark, but you can definitely have a seat with us. The power just went out. So one of the questions that I have as it pertains to the youth, what approaches do you find most effective, especially in this day and age, to help engage young people considering such complex and nuanced history in a meaningful way?
I believe that when young people are able to have a personal experience, it is something that never leaves them. If they can see and feel and touch, use all of their senses, then it makes an impact on them. I think it makes a lasting impression when they can be surrounded by the history. I mean, I can remember sitting in history class year after year, reading, American history, rarely finding myself in the history books at all. But if you can, if the students can see themselves in that space, in that part of history, it makes a world of difference. And so we walk with them through the museum. And we ask that people do not try to record anything walking through, because everybody has cell phones, and so they're busy taking pictures and all of that, and they miss the essence of it if they're not listening and looking, and using all of their senses rather than this little camera phone that takes pictures of everything. And many of them tell us after they leave, I understand now why it's not necessary to do that, because they can absorb more by using, their own senses and feelings. And so they are totally immersed in what they are listening to and what they are seeing. And that stays with them. Now, I can't remember a whole lot of things I read in history books, years ago. And I'm sure they felt the same way. Many of them tell us that they feel the same way, that this makes sense. This is history I never learned. And then, as I say, to this day, they're saying they didn't forget it. And so I think that the approach of students going on field trips, not just to go and play somewhere, but to learn history, visit those places and touch and see and sense the things that happened then and put themselves in that space, because they would say, think about what would I have done, had I lived during that time. And it motivates them, not only just for Slave Haven, but the entire tour itself, of all the different people that they learn about that was right around them all the time and they knew nothing about it. And so I think we're missing out when we do not engage students in every manner that we can, not just in the classroom, but in any other learning experience. Then we should make sure that they can engage in that.
I agree, especially in the age of instant gratification. It is imperative that we be present in the moments. I agree. My first trip there, I definitely put my phone away. I teach with Creative Aging, which is a nonprofit that uses art to engage with our senior citizens so that they can build more communities and friend groups together as we age. We are a social people. We thrive networking and communicating with one another, and that is the first thing that kind of deteriorates if you are not social. And so one of the classes that I teach is inspired by my first visit to Slave Haven. So it is abstract book code making about the Underground Railroad, and so I provide information about what the codes mean, so that they can kind of make their own inferences and make their own code scraps as well. And then once at the end of the class, we put those pieces together, they have a abstracted quilt of sorts. I saw you recently at the Of Salt and Spirit opening preview exhibition at the Brooks Museum, and I was very excited to see you there. Not only that, but also to see and be able to read some of the codes that were featured in some of the quilts in the exhibition. My next question for you, when you arrived at that initial visit for you at Slave Haven, what moment, or can you share a story, one story from the site that deeply moved you, and kind of challenge, or in a way where you realized that you needed to challenge and take on making sure that the space still ran as a site, that people knew about it for the city? So what was one thing that really kind of, not just in its totality itself, but that stood out from your initial experience? Is it?
Well, I'm certain that standing in that cellar was the most powerful thing for me, to really just grasp the moment. And then we don't know how long they might have stayed in that cellar. But it didn't matter, because they were on their way to freedom. Whether it was 2 or 3 days, 2 or 3 weeks. And I've read of people who had hidden for months in one space. For our ancestors, it did not matter how long they would have to wait. They had the determination that they were going to be free. They had broken loose from the plantation, and they were on the way to freedom. Well, nothing was going to turn them around. And just to think of their bravery, of their perseverance, and of their courage. And so that let me know that I needed to tell their story. I need to make sure that anybody who comes through there, that I can tell the story to them, to help them to have that same experience, and to feel and just get an idea of what their ancestors might have gone through, and the determination that they had in order to gain their freedom. So that has been powerful. Now, when we first went to the museum, Mrs. Phillips wanted us to see it. She wanted us to bring our tour groups here to the museum. And so it was our privilege to actually um, collect documents and artifacts and photographs and everything. So we had been researching heritage tours for years. We had so much of that already in our files. And so we put it together, exhibits to tell that story, not only of not just the runaways, but where were they running from? What were the conditions under which they lived? Telling the story of the transatlantic slave trade, to give them that whole picture of where they had come from Africa, and then taken through the Middle Passage, and then enslaved for whatever time they might have been in enslavement, and then now running away to freedom. So we wanted that whole story to be told, and that's exactly what we did in putting that story together. So it's the whole story, I think, that makes an impact. Um, and I've had college graduates and sometimes college professors even said, I learned more about history right here than I did with all of the degrees that I made, because they were in the space. I think that was it. They saw it, they felt it, they were a part of it, and it was something meaningful to them. And so that's been so rewarding for people of all ages and all races, to have that same experience. And yes, there are many tears when people visit the museum, from both blacks and whites. And so it does make people feel something. And so when they feel it, they don't forget it. And we hope it makes a difference.
Yeah.
And we've had people to tell us that that visit made a difference in their lives. And that's the kind of impact we wanted to have. And so that's why it's so important for Memphis. And we have people coming from all over the world that that visit that site. And they are absolutely overwhelmed with what they see and what they learn.
I agree. Black history is American history. I don't think that necessarily needs to be stated, but reiterated never hurts. My next question for you, working with such powerful stories and history every day, especially in this climate, can be emotionally taxing. So I'm curious, what keeps you motivated and gives you hope to continue this work?
I suppose the motivation comes every time a visitor comes and they take the tour and they want to talk about what it meant to them, how much they were inspired, and the lessons that they learned. So all of that keeps me motivated. It keeps me inspired myself to want to keep sharing the history, to keep telling the story. I really have never gotten exhausted with it at all. And I hate to turn people away, even if they come late. I want them to know something, they've made their way there and they're going back home tomorrow out of town, and they didn't want to miss it. I want them to see it. I want them to not miss it. And so that keeps me motivated, the eagerness of people who want to know something, who want to learn, and who bring their children there for them to learn. And then when they say, I came here when I was in the 5th grade, now I want my children to experience this, So, we want to be right there for them, the next generation, for them to keep learning as well, because I think that's going to make our young people much better adults when they have a history, when they know they have a history, and they can use that as a source of inspiration. And so that's what is rewarding. That's what keeps me going every day.
Please.
Okay, well, I don't wanna hog, although I could, I don't wanna hog the entire time that we have together with just questions from me. So I do wanna open the floor, I have a couple more that I am curious to ask, but I wanna open the floor for anyone else that has a question to please ask Ms. Turner. Does anybody?
I have a question.
Yes, yeah.
In the wake of what seems like almost a movement to erase history, and to ban books, to silence those who want to tell the stories, what is our responsibility as people who believe that our history should be told?
I think we have an awesome responsibility now, more so than ever. If we have pieces of history that we can share, we definitely need to know this history. We need to double down, I say, on telling the history. We need to be sure that it is not omitted as far as our children's lives, as far as anybody that you know, when you have visitors that come to town, you want them to learn something. I want you to see what Memphis has. And when we have family reunions, I've had family reunions that have been here 15, 20 years ago, and they said that my family is still talking about that experience because it started them to talk in their family groups during the reunion and even after that. I had a family that called a couple of weeks ago and said that they were here about 10 years ago, and they're having another family reunion here next year, and they want to come back because my family's still talking about it. So that's the kind of thing that we want people to know, and I think it will give them the strength that they need. It will give Black people the strength that they need to really go through this time that we're going through. It will give them that courage, and when they think of the courage of their ancestors, then that will motivate them that we can get through this now. That we got to share the history, that we got to make sure that our children know the history. I do believe that we would not have the problems as far as the young people are concerned now if they knew some of this history. That when they don't know where they've been, our ancestors have been, then it is true that you don't know where you're going. And so we've got to be sure that we know where we are going and what we can do. We can overcome this because we have, we're carrying the genes of our ancestors. So they were strong. They survived that Middle Passage. They survived enslavement. They overcame. They made it. And so we are them. And we can do the same. We can do the same. And we need to circle the wagons, and tell the stories and motivate each other, and especially our children, so that they'll know that we're going to get through this too. But we have to constantly be sure that they know their history. Make every effort in whatever ways that you can, if it's reading books, if it's taking them somewhere, to hear people talk and to learn their history. We've got to do all of that in order to make sure that our history is not erased, because there is a concerted effort, as we know, to erase our history. But it cannot be erased. You erase the history of mankind, because we all know that the first people on this earth looked like us. They were Black. And everybody else came from us. So you cannot erase the origin, no matter how much you try. So we need to know who we are. We need to know that's who we are, and to just keep on making sure that we keep that history alive.
All right, Ms. Rose, I saw you had a question.
Mrs. Estrada, I have this totally intrigued. I've been in Memphis all of my life, 77 years of it. And what was the stamp of finally authenticating that piece of property. And do you know who owned it before the lady that had acquired it and closed it?
All right, thank you.
I'm really.
Yeah, let me give you that's a very good question to give you some background on Slave Haven Underground Railroad Museum. The house was owned by a German immigrant.
A German.
His name was Jacob Burkle. So he came from Germany in the late 1840s, early 50s. He came from after the German Revolution. A lot of Germans came here to the United States during that time. And Jacob Burkle moved to Memphis and settled in the South.
1977?
No, 18, yes. And so anyway, he was fleeing oppression in Germany.
Okay.
And when he got here to the South in the United States, he saw some other people who were oppressed.
Okay.
And that was black people. And we believe that was his motivation for helping them to escape. So here's a white man in the South
Yeah.
who felt that it was his duty to in some way aid these people to escape to freedom. And so that's how this Underground Railroad in Memphis in this particular house came about, because of Jacob Burkle. Now, we found out about the story through his granddaughter, whose name was Catherine Compton. She passed away in 1978. And so it was a secret in the Burkle family. It was a secret. Of course, that's what underground means, secret. And so nobody told the secret. But Catherine told the secret before she died. To some of her relatives and neighbors. And so it was rumored in the community that this had been a house that was a part of the Underground Railroad. And so the rumor still persisted in the 1980s and 1990s. And then there was a gentleman who did research and had the historical marker, Tennessee historical marker, placed in the front yard. And at that time, Mrs. Phillips was living in the house. And she didn't know that it was a house that served as a way station on the Underground Railroad until this gentleman shared that information of his research.
Okay.
Yes. And so that's how she ended up calling us at Heritage Tours.
Okay, well, did he give her a tour of when she acquired the property? Did she tour the home itself?
She knew nothing about the history of the house at all when she purchased it.
Okay.
She knew nothing about the history. She learned that a few years later.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was just a basement originally?
Oh, it is a house. It is a house. It's like, what, 7 rooms in the house, I think?
Right.
It's probably
Yeah, so it was just a house.
Okay.
It was just a house. But she didn't know about the history of the house.
History of the house.
That's right.
All right. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
All right, good question. I didn't go into all the background of the house, but in order for everybody to know how we learned about this house. That's right. But Mrs. Phillips decided because she learned of that history and she wanted it to be a museum, then she donated the house to the organization, the nonprofit organization.
Okay. Is she quite late in age? Was she?
She was in like her 70s maybe. Yeah, she was in her 70s. No, she didn't. Well, she just bought the house. She bought it. Yeah, she bought the house. And then she learned about the history after she bought it. Yeah, but when she learned how significant it was, then she says, I want this house to be a museum. And so she donated the house to the nonprofit organization. She asked Heritage Tours to manage the house. And so that's why we are still doing that. She passed away, what was it, like almost at least 15 years ago or longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the question. Yes, Lulu.
Hi.
So you've been involved in this kind of work for a really long time,
Mm-hmm.
since you were very young with your sisters, and so I'm wondering why you chose to be involved from the beginning, and why you continue in each year of your life to still be out here doing this amazing work.
Okay. Uh, I choose to be out here doing what I'm doing because it is needed. It is still needed. Uh, from my involvement in the civil rights movement, that was needed. It needed to be done. Somebody needed to do it. And so my sisters and I, we were involved in whatever kind of protest was going on in the 1960s. And um, then starting heritage tours was something that I had searched for something to do, as I mentioned. I didn't want to go back into teaching. I wanted to do something where I could be involved with the community as I had been as a teenager. And I didn't know what that was going to be. Uh, but I searched around, and our family was talking about the fact that so many of our young people are not motivated. And as we were talking about it, and we were trying to see what the answers were. And I remember saying, they don't know who they are. They don't know their history. And somebody needs to take them around here in Memphis to show them this history. And so that's how I really got involved in starting heritage tours. And I found out more and more that, yes, indeed, people do not know our history. Black people do not know their own history. Others don't know it because, it's been omitted, and it's been erased, it's been covered up, it's been all of those things. And so the more I find out that people don't know, the more I want to be sure that I do my part in making sure that they learn the history that we have researched. And I don't see myself stopping very soon because it's a joy, it really is. And to see, the faces of so many people and their eagerness to learn. So that's why I'm still doing this. And I want to pass it on to all of these children. I have some great nieces and nephews out there. Zara, Zuri, and Zaire. And so I want them to know. And the little children over here, I want them to know this history. And we have to just keep teaching the children. We have to keep teaching them so that they can be leaders in the community. They can be freedom fighters. We're going to need freedom fighters still, in the coming years. And so they have to be armed with their history in order to be able to do that. So the more they learn now, the more we know that they're gonna step out and do something. So we have no doubt about that because they're listening, and it'll make a difference in their lives in the future. I'm sure of that.
Thank you. Yes. So I have been in the school system since 1999. What would you say to encourage us to stay? I do believe that the students need to explore more. I came to Slave Haven because of the Kwanzaa event one day. It was in that front room.
Mm-hmm.
And so I walked my students from Humes Middle School to Slave Haven. And it was like, it's right around the corner. And it is true that, those students still talk about how they're gonna get their children down there. And so we got a group to come in from Indianapolis, and that was like the first place I took them to. Because I want you to know, Memphis has a lot of history. I took them to the auction block as well. Because I don't want y'all to think that our history is not being shared with us. And because they did have a diverse group of students, sometimes students don't know the value we already have in Memphis. And so, what would you say just encourage me, the person who is trying to share that information with them, to stick around with the young people? Cause I promise you some days I think about what's the next.
Absolutely. Just keep on doing what you're doing. If you learn it, then you share it with somebody else. You bring them there. You know, let them know that history is just right in your own neighborhood, right where you go to school, and just keep sharing it. Whatever you know, share that history. Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, each one teach one, yes.
I have another question. A griot in the African tradition is, a storyteller, one who knows the history and tells the history. Can you talk about the importance of oral history in the African American tradition, and as it relates to slave haven, and just overall the importance of oral history?
Okay, thank you. That's my daughter, Camila. Everybody. Okay, so it is an African tradition. Griots are the storytellers in Africa. And I'm sure all of you are familiar with Roots, with Alex Haley's story of his family from Africa, Kunta Kinte. That story was told by the griot. So the griot's in his family. First, his grandmother and her sisters told the story of Kunta Kinte. So that was oral history, and he heard that history, and he wanted to know about who this Kunta Kinte, the African, was, and he wanted to know who he was, if that was really so. And then he decided, after trying to be a writer, and someone told him, write about what you know about your family. And he began that research and learning more about African history, and in particular Kunta Kinte and the words, the names, and all of that. And he indeed was able to go back to Jufere in the Gambia. My brother Ekpe and I were over in the Gambia earlier this year, and we went to Jufere. But that's, Alex Haley was able to go back to that little village and sit down and listen to a griot who had hundreds of years of history right in his head about the Kinte family. And so he listened, I think, how many days, Ekpe? About 2 or 3 days. The griot was constantly talking and giving the history of the entire family, just talking and chronicling that history until he came upon the same words that Alex Haley had heard on the porch right there in Hennon, Tennessee, from his grandmother and great aunts. The very same words, the very same story of Kunta Kinte. That's how powerful oral history is. Now, people can write whatever they want, and we have read and read and read a whole lot of history in our educational time, and still reading. And we are finding out now that so much of that history is not even true, that somebody just wrote it down. But the oral history is more accurate because it came from the memories of people, of things that were happening right then. And it's important in the African culture for that history to be chronicled, not just writing it down, but chronicled in the memory. And they tell those stories over and over and over again so that everybody will know it. And that griot, his responsibility is to be sure that everybody knows that history for hundreds of years backwards. And so that's how Alex Haley was able to validate his history. And so much of the history in my family is the same way, because we know the history of our great-grandmother who came over on the ship from Africa. That's oral history. And we want to go back and actually find exactly where she lived. But the oral history in our individual families now is very crucial because that connects us with the past. And so we need to start from the oral history, from the griots, and your elders in your family are your griots. And so they can go back to their, as far as their memory takes them. And then if it's as far as they can go back, then we can take up with the census and all of that and the other stories. But the histories are in the families, it's in the memory. And so that is so very important. And so all of us have treasures, have stories in our families that we should capture so that it will not be lost for the future generations.
And just, I wanted to follow up on that, and also in the African American tradition, because we were enslaved for so long, it's illegal for us to read and write. So we did not have the ability to write down certain things, and so the oral tradition became even more important for us as we were going through that period of time where we were enslaved and not able to read or write, even though some did learn to read or write. It's very dangerous because you can be killed for it. So I just want to point that out too.
Oh yeah, that's a very key point there, is because they were denied being able to learn to read and write. And so, they would be punished severely if they attempted to do that. So they had to find other ways. And even with the Underground Railroad, they had to hide messages, as Felicia mentioned, in the quilts. They had to hide those messages. So it was all done orally. They were accustomed to oral history. So they just, you can't read, you're forbidden to read and write. Well, they could easily pivot. They've been doing that all the time, the oral history. So, that is the more valid history as far as they are concerned anyway. The history that came down through the family lineage.
So I think it's also important just to add in there that they were forced to leave their native language behind. So
Sure.
they couldn't speak their native tongue. They didn't allow the local plantation to get together to talk. So they had to come up with other ways to be able to communicate, which when you talk about it, we say, they were forced to leave their native language behind, others, such as the codes and some other ways.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's Alana. She is the manager at Slave Haven Underground Railroad Museum. She's my daughter. But very true. Language, that was all taken away from them. Yeah, forbidden to speak their language. Yeah, so they couldn't even speak their language, but you had to speak English, but you better not learn to read and write English, but you have to speak it though, okay? That's ludicrous, but that's the way they were treated, So anyway, they had to use other ways of communicating.
Making a way out of no way is what
Absolutely.
we are specialized in, PhD, I would say. Not even just with quilts or oratory, hymns, that is the importance of.
Sure.
Some of those are coded as well, and then even, case in point, hair braiding.
Yes.
Braiding maps and other symbols into the hair that could be read as well. It's just, the ingenuity is just, I love us.
I think there were a couple of questions.
Oh, yes, I'm so sorry, Ms. Weeks.
I'm Tara.
Hey, Tara.
The first thing I'd like to do is say thank you. I was scrolling the internet about 4:30 this morning and ran such a beautiful picture. And even one of my calendars. Storytelling has always been important to me. And to bring it current, it's important that we know who we are as a people, particularly because of what's going on in our city.
Mm-hmm.
The media wants us to believe certain things about this city, and we have to be the ones to tell the story. When I talk to people who do not live here, I tell them Memphis is not a war zone, but they're feeding this, and some people are buying into it. So I'm grateful to people like you who are willing to tell the story, and it encourages us of today that we have that same responsibility to tell the real story. So thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. Yes, that's
That
the,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
go ahead.
That was her comment was a beautiful segue into my question, because I am newly here, I've been here like 3 months. And that was the first thing when I moved, I was going to see that this, oh God, or, why are you moving there? And, it's this, and that, the picture and the fear tactics that you get just from saying I'm moving to Memphis. But for me, I wanted to see for, myself, and I hear about different things and just kind of, I've been, just exploring the city, and it is absolutely a beautiful, wonderful. I feel like I'm surrounded in so much history. And I looked at the website, and it says the museum is closed. Is it closed, or is it just, or?
So that is a great segue to
Okay.
the question that I also have
Okay.
here, which I'm hoping that, because forgive me for not knowing exactly what year, but Slave Haven did suffer a fire. So I was wondering if you all could share an update to the community and kind of let them know in ways that they can support the lift for it to be reopened. There is an active and current GoFundMe now for Slave Haven, but if you all could provide, I guess, an update for the site structurally and where it stands.
Okay, thank you for that question. Yes, we did have a fire last year. We have not reopened as of yet. We anticipate opening within the next couple of months, okay? And so we would definitely let the community know. We'll have it posted on all the social media when we are ready to kind of get everything reorganized. We will, we hope some of you, if you have any spare time, we would love to have you to come down with hands-on and helping us to get things reorganized there. So we do plan to reopen within the next couple of months, and so we are highly anticipating that. And so that we have the teachers calling right now, wanting to bring their students there, and we're so glad about that. So we're glad that people are anxious about visiting Slave Haven. We're gonna miss them for spring break. Is it this week, I believe? The fall break, yeah, fall break. Yes, so we do anticipate reopening, and we do have a GoFundMe site, and you got the exact GoFundMe, okay? We
You
can,
go to either it's Slave Haven, either our Facebook or on Instagram, it will show that we have something for the GoFundMe. If you click that, it'll take you to the link to do that.
And is that accessible from the website as well?
yes, it is.
And just a little bit about it. So the fire that we had, it was a very small fire.
Okay.
It was only contained to just maybe one room and a little bit of that. So the house itself, you couldn't even tell there was a fire from the outside. So the things that are happening now is things that just there's some small things we have to get into to get things reorganized. So the museum itself did not sustain any structural damage. So it's still the same museum. A lot of people ask me, is the cellar still the same? The cellar is exactly the same. So everything's still the same. It's just we had to make some changes.
Yeah, well, that is a relief to hear. I was under the impression that it had been not necessarily engulfed, but so much of it to where the structural integrity just was not.
Well,
No,
and
it's
you
a,
would think so because it's been closed since January of 2024, but that's not the case.
Okay.
It's not.
yeah.
Which is why it's important.
We'll be
for us to
ready.
talk.
Yes, we'll be ready in the next couple of months, and we'll put out the word.
Okay.
Hattie Lou is gonna help us, I know.
I will. Like I said, it is my favorite museum. I very much lead and practice in the spirit of Ubuntu. I am the coach you are, so if you need help, I will let you know.
Okay.
Do we have any more questions?
Well, I was just gonna add, since you asked about, outside of financial help, how will we reach out if we wanted to?
Hands-on?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Be sure you leave, well, you can email us, heritage tours at bellsouth.net. And let us know that you willing to help with any work.
I asked you because I didn't know about the fire because well, I'm not a native Memphian,
Mhm.
but, my family was basically raised in Memphis, so it's been my second home.
Okay.
And so when I found out about this museum, I tell everybody, literally,
Good.
and, send people regularly. And somebody called me last summer because they had it penciled in to go ahead and go.
Mhm.
And, they sent me the news clip. I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, what? And so I'm glad you addressed it because I
Yeah.
had questions, so.
Okay. All right.
And,
Well, we'd love to have you to help us, because we want to get it organized, a lot of the documents and framing and those kinds of things we have to do to get.
I'll send an email.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
All right, well, I think that's all the questions that I have.
I think we got a question over there.
Oh, I'm so sorry, yes, what is your question?
How do you bring about this history?
Okay, that's my great niece, Zara. And she asked, how did I learn all of that history? Oh, how did I remember it? Oh, well, you know what, Zara? I am a griot. The griot, let me tell you how it works in Africa. In Africa, the griot is, that I've seen is an old man and the one that Alex Haley, talked with and heard when he learned about Kunta Kinte was an old man and he was talking and he talked for days and days. But right beside that old man, there's a young man that's sitting beside him and he's listening to everything that this old man says. And when the old man gets older and maybe his memory starts fading, guess what? The young man remembers all of that. And then when the older man passes away, guess who is the griot? The younger man. He's now the griot. That's how it's passed down from one generation. Someone is waiting right there in the wings who knows that history, and they can repeat it. So there have been many griots over the years, and that's how they keep the history going in their memory. Would you like to be a griot? Very good, you can be. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes, I just want to take a point of privilege. I'm the most popular person in my family today, so I'm here. My daughter is in Chattanooga and her dad is a fireman, so he's at work, so I'm here. But what occurred when my daughter was 7, they took a field trip, and then the parents could go. I couldn't make it, so her dad went with her. So they go, and he was having a weird feeling when he got to the house. And he got to looking around, and he realized as a child, he was there during the summer times with family. So he knew about all the spaces. He knew, and this is not him, but he had to leave out of the house because he was having an anxiety attack. Because his childhood was just flourishing. He's like, this is Auntie's house. I made this house, right? And I was like, are you serious? He said, yeah. Because they never knew anything of that it got bought and sold and made in the railroad. He's in the place down there. This is what we did. And this was like, it was young, so we were like 1978, 1979, maybe 76,
Okay.
around that time. And so they are your biggest marketers.
Oh, wonderful.
For Slave Haven, because it's just pride, and it is a landmark here in our city. So we just want to thank you for the preservation of it all, and what it meant to a 7-year-old, and now she's 21 in college.
Yeah.
And she's an advocate for it.
Oh, wonderful. That's so good to know.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you for that. I also want to introduce you all to a couple of people That's my brother Ikpe, in case some of you don't know him. He's been a fixture at Slave Haven really since the beginning. He does the African drumming and the music, and it makes for a wonderful experience at Slave Haven. So he's a kind of an extension of it. The young lady sitting over near him is Lulu. She helped us get our GoFundMe page set up. I did not know her before that, but she's been instrumental. So we have so many people who have been a part of Slave Haven, and that's my niece, Senna. Senna was a docent, a tour guide at Slave Haven. Were you still in high school, Senna? She was in high school. Now she's finished college, got her master's degree, and the mother of 3 little children. But she was a tour guide at Slave Haven as well. I wanted to be sure to acknowledge them in being here.
Of course, thank you for being here. Thank you all for being here. Yes, okay, please.
So I just wanted to mention, the term griot is used, from what I learned, is really a French terminology. So the African word is jelly.
Okay.
Jelly. It sounds like peanut butter and jelly, as I tell you. That helps you to remember. But if we want to reclaim our language.
Yeah.
So it's okay to use that term, griot, but we also want to know the African terminology. Says talking about history and roots, how they be cook and can't take it back and say the thing was toe. So we want to reclaim our languages too as well. So jelly is that some of us can dig deep into the history, that's all the term.
Thank you, enlighten us, please. Thank you. Well, thank you all so much for joining us here tonight, and again, braving through the rain. Thank you so much, Miss Elaine Turner, for sharing your story and the importance of all of the civil rights movement, heritage tours, the WC Handy, and last and certainly not least, Slave Haven Underground Railroad Museum. Definitely support, definitely hit up the GoFundMe. I hope you all leave feeling encouraged and galvanized. I know that I very much am. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.